I rarely go shopping in the holidays these years. It's all too much for me. I get overwhelmed the moment I step through the door. But even worse, the day after the big holiday day. They must have worker bees putting out thousands of totes, bins, containers, boxes made of plastic. Presumably with the assumption that all those goodies you got over the holiday season, whether presents or decorations, they're assuming you have more stuff. Stuff that will need bins. Stuff to keep for later, but stuff nonetheless. Bins full of it. And I look at those bins and think of all the new items folks have accumulated over the holidays. And I think to myself, that's not where I am at all. Not at all. I want less stuff, not more stuff. I live in a small house. I want a simple life, not a life complicated by where I'm going to put new stuff or anything really. I don't need any more, and more crowds my life. It makes my life less relaxed, less easy, because things can occupy my mind, either with their presence, the thought that I have to make decisions about them again, or the way they stuff my head when I need clarity to live a good life. I get to thinking about this when I see all those totes. It's kind of an epiphany, really. And I want to share that today. Now, I'm not a tips kind of gal. What I can give you is some experience and some stories. I have lots of stories about the holidays and stuff. Good ones. And what I want to say in particular, and this was a flash of the obvious, this season, instead of getting more to fill a house where I don't want more, it really is the ideal time to declutter, to go for less, to reimagine myself, refresh myself with an even more simple home, a home that I can really enjoy because it's not full of things. So that's what I'm going to share today, but I do want to say one more thing before I get going. By the holidays, many of us have grown up with a Christian background, but I do want to make clear that there are traditions and religions all over the world, many very different from my own, but they have holidays with stuff too. Gifts, decorations, and yes, containers for it all. So let's not forget the universe here. Really, this applies to everyone. I know we all have this problem with stuff in the holidays, so let's talk about having less and enjoying our life because of it. Let me get going. Before I get too far into this, there's one gift that's free, and I will gladly accept it. If you'll subscribe to this channel, it will help everyone out. It tells YouTube that there are seniors who really want authentic content. And you can't get more authentic than this. This is a real me. And I'm quite sure you can guess I would really enjoy it if you hit that like button. He will too. He's my co-host. That's Brecky, by the way, if you haven't met him. Enough of that. Let me talk about seniors. Who do I mean? Oh, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. There are a lot of us in here. Maybe 50s too. We all have experienced something that has to do with stuff. Having less stuff when we start out with so much. It's called downsizing. And I think downsizing is really underestimated as a major process of human life, especially American life, because we have so much stuff. And we have huge houses to hold all that stuff. But here's the thing. For those of us who have been through that whole process, we know how agonizing some of the decisions can be. Because downsizing is about making decisions. Decisions about whether to keep, whether to donate, whether to throw away, or whether to palm off on relatives or anyone who will take it. We've gone through getting rid of treasures, seeing them go, grieving over their loss, all for the appreciation of a smaller life, an easier existence, an easier senior years, not so muddled and consumed with things, but rather to live a little freer, less stuffed up, literally. So many of us have been through that, and I send good vibes to those of you who haven't, because I know how difficult this is. We know about stuff. We know how many decisions it takes. We have that experience. And why, in these holidays, would we bring that on ourselves? More of it. Because everything that comes into your home, everything, and I don't mean food, because that's a consumable, but everything that someone brings as a gift, that you purchase as a decoration, no matter how wonderful they are, they mean a decision. And after you've been through downsizing, you don't want to go through any more decisions. Trust me. So why do we go there? I'm thinking about that this year especially. And I did mention I hardly go into stores, and this is the reason. I can go into a store and be overwhelmed with stuff on the shelves, on tables, on hangers. And I can walk into that store and tell people how overwhelmed I am, that it's all a little much. And almost invariably, they agree with me. So secretly, I know there are a lot of people in our shopping world who have a sense that there's too much. And maybe wistfully they think they might want less. Those of us who have gone through the downsizing process, we know we want less. No more decisions, no more anxiety, no more grief that has to do with things. We've had it. Let's remember that in these holidays. Let me talk about decorations. Now, I'm really bad at decorations. Why? I figured out a long time ago I don't like dismantling them. And the other thing about decorations is most of the year they require a box. They require space in your home. And they're just sitting there idle, doing nothing, offering no one pleasure except taking up space, taking up mind share every time you see that box in the closet. Oh, you can put it in the attic where you won't retrieve it until next year. And maybe you won't see it till then either. But it's there in your home, occupying space. And gosh forbid you have it in a storage unit, because I will tell you, I had a storage unit where I put stuff and I never saw it almost for 10 years. And here's what happened. I added up the number of dollars I had spent on that storage unit over the years. It was something incredible, like $10,000. That's absurd. And then what did I do when I saw that storage unit with stuff I hadn't seen for 10 years? Well, of course I didn't need it. Why would I suddenly need it 10 years later? I paid to abandon it. And that's what I did. It was going to cost too much to remove it from the storage unit, even to take it to a donation center. I would have had to pay a bunch of guys, a rental truck. And I sure as heck wasn't going to move it into my little house. It was a whole storage unit of stuff. That would have cost thousands. And what would be the point? I don't have room for it here. And it was complicating my life, not to mention my pocketbook. Can you imagine $10,000? And decorations, maybe they don't take up a whole storage unit, but they do take up room in our lives. That's my thoughts about stuff that's not central to how I live now. And sure, there's grief attached to that, a sense of loss. We have to part with ourselves sometimes to let go, to be real. And sometimes it's about our limitations as seniors. We can no longer climb a ladder to hang those lovely light icicles. Oh, and they're so pretty. We can't put out inflatable snowmen because they draw heavily on our utilities, and our utility bills are climbing. And really, our budget for food, it needs more outlay because that's climbing too. But decluttering, working your brain through the limitations of what you have and what you're willing to have in your mind, I reckon it's very appropriate for this season. And decorations are one form of that. I want to talk about joy. Now, joy, the essence of joy, is Marie Kondo's secret, right? Perhaps you've read her books about examining things and wondering to yourself, having a little conversation about whether those things bring you joy. And if they don't, let them go. Joy is a big feature of the holiday season. We have joy to the world. We have joy printed on gift cards. We have families beaming joy from old photographs. And those are treasures. But here's the thing about stuff. So much of it, I find, there's not enough joy in it. And I sure don't want to accumulate things in the holiday season that don't bring me joy. And I'm going to tell you a little story about this. Every year until last year, I used to work in retail for the holiday season. I didn't work at any old retail. I worked in a store where there were nice things, things that people could enjoy. Apparel, camping equipment, nice little doodads. Now, those weren't things for me. Here's what I liked and what gave me great pleasure. Folks would come in and they really needed things, usually as gifts. And I just so much got joy from watching their faces when I could allay their anxiety about giving gifts. And what they were seeking with their anxiety about getting the right gift especially, they were seeking joy. And here was an example. This happened, 15 years ago now. So a gentleman came up to me, and I was kind of approachable because I've had silver hair for a long time. And he must have been in his 50s, not much taller than me, not a very inspiring looking guy, but friendly, nice, and he was almost beseeching me. He showed me a t-shirt, a men's t-shirt, a gigantic t-shirt. It might have been 3X, and it was the most boring color you can imagine. A gray or a dull kind of beige. And then he said to me, my wife never likes the gifts I give her for Christmas. I knew why. You know why too, right? And I looked at him and I said, yeah, no, we're not doing that. Because he really wanted to give her joy. He really wanted to do the right thing. Yeah, very obviously, I'm sure my eyes were almost popping, thinking, oh, no. We're not doing that t-shirt. And he looked so lost. So I said to him, what does your wife like doing? Does she walk the dog? Oh, yes, she walks the dog. And this was in a cold climate, so I kind of knew that. And I asked him, how about getting her a pair of really nice warm gloves so she can walk the dog and be comfortable when she goes out in this winter weather? And he said, oh yeah, that might work. So I said, come with me, let's find her some really nice gloves. And we did. They cost maybe $30 or so, but they were really nice. They were thickly padded. She was going to be really warm on her walks. And I knew it. It was not the kind of glove you could dislike, especially if you were going out for a cold walk. So I felt it had a chance of being a hit. And then I said to him, see those Girl Scouts at that table out in the hallway of the mall? You need to go to them. And you're going to ask them for a box. And you're going to pick out some gift paper, and you're going to ask them to wrap that box. And you're going to pay extra for ribbon and a bow. And you're going to give them a nice fat tip. Because that money is going to enable a girl to go to camp in the summer. Couldn't be a better thing to do in the holiday season. So off he went. I was pretty sure he was going to visit that table. Well, you know what happens after Christmas. People jam in the stores because they want to exchange items or return them. Maybe they're dissatisfied. Maybe they just got the wrong size. Well, a woman came up to me and she said, I can't believe it. The most marvelous thing happened. Wonderful. This has never happened before. My husband gave me the most fabulous pair of gloves. And he usually gets me really boring t-shirts, and they're gray or they're beige and they're dishy looking and they're huge. And I'm thinking, I know her husband. She said, it was just magnificent. He gave me this pair of gloves so I could walk the dog and be warm. Not only that, they were in a box. They were properly wrapped. He usually puts his gift in a paper bag. It was incredible. And there was a bow on the top. And I'm thinking, yeah, I really know this guy. And she said, the gloves are so wonderful, but I just need a bigger pair. Could you help me find the bigger pair? And we did. And that little story, that episode, the man who was beaming with joy at his whole effort to make his wife's Christmas just wonderful, to see a happy face on her, and there she was beaming with love. That gave me pleasure and joy. That's what I want in the holiday season. There can be stuff, just not mine. And you can tell my joy at that was way better than any gift anyone could have given me. And it was. It's 15 years later. I'll never forget it. So here's what I vow to do this holidays. I have accumulated a bit more stuff this year than I'd really like. I have some fairly well-worn clothing, and sure, I loved it, but it wouldn't be my first choice to wear right now. My weight has changed a bit. Things don't fit quite right. I'm a bit more wrinkled, and different colors look better on me or worse. And above all, I don't like the feeling of stuff in my home. Right now, it's a total mess because I'm laid up and I can't get to things, and I've had to get more things just to handle being laid up. And it's oppressive. It's very hard for me to live when my world is messy. Funny thing is, I've been a messy my whole life. But when I got to this little house, I was no longer messy because it's mine, and I made it mine. And I have found I can't deal with things all over the place. Just a few extra makes me feel crowded. Maybe you feel the same way too. Now, am I perfect? Oh, not in any regard. Because I will tell you a little secret. There's one kind of thing that I always like to get in the holidays, and that is plants with splashy colored flowers. I just love having those around me. Maybe 3 pots of them. That's what I can handle at once. The reds and pinks and whites of poinsettias. And cyclamen, they're a particular favorite. Oh, they're finicky, but I'm really good with them. And I love the fuchsia and red together. I love that combination. It kind of vibrates. Those are November, December flowers. And they aren't expensive. I can get them at the grocery store. $6 or so, $7. That's it. And they give me so much pleasure. That's my joy. But here's where I'm imperfect. I have a lot of pots to enjoy those flowers. too many pots. But I don't care. I love them too. That's my indulgence. I have room for them for now. I suppose I'll get rid of some eventually, but I think not. I'm kind of attached to them right now because I really like that splashy color in November and December. And if I can, into January, February, and March. By then, I'm more apt to give them up and move into tulips or something like that. Those are really important to me and they give me joy. So let's think about joy this season. What gives us joy? What fuels our hearts and our minds? What makes us relax? Would it be less stuff or more things? More detail in our lives? More dusting? More. Maybe less would work. It does for me at any rate. I'm sure you have stories about the holiday season and stuff too, and how your mind has worked through the energy it takes to maintain all of that. Maybe because you've been through downsizing, and you know what a draw it is on you to deal with the anxiety of letting things go, or even acquiring things in the holiday season, or having to buy gifts for other people and make them happy. I bet you have stories too. Write them in the comments. Let's share about the details here. And let's consider maybe using these months to declutter, making less in our lives so we can live a bit more simple as we go into older age. Because simple, it can be more exciting, at least in my experience. It can be more vibrant, energizing, room for growth. And for me, that's what I want. Maybe for you too. I hope this has been helpful, maybe given you some ideas. But that's enough for me, at least for now. Don't forget to subscribe and we'll talk soon, all right? See you then. And I hope you have a good holidays, a thoughtful holidays, a decluttered holidays, if I don't see you till much later. Bye for now.